So why do projects fail? It's rarely one big mistake. It's usually a chain of small breakdowns that add up and snowball over time. I want to show you how to be able to see those before they snowball. Hello, beautiful people. This video is about what are some common reasons for project failure. Welcome, I'm Jennifer Kenny. I'm the best-selling author of The Innovation Mindset and the award-winning author of the book 100% Capacity. I work with Fortune 500 companies in complex technical environments. I show you how to achieve real project success, not just on paper, but in terms of measurable business results. There are 5 particular things that I want to focus on in this video. Why do projects fail really shows up from the get-go. So many times we are rushing into a project. We're under deadlines. We finally got the budgeting. We're finally assembling the team. We still have roles missing on the team, and we are scrambling because now we know that we've got this deadline, we've got this budget, and we've got to deliver on it. And we put ourselves under a lot of pressure. And what we do when we do that is we tend to go into our default mode. And our default mode for a lot of us is do, do, do. We rush to be busy. We rush to be seen being busy. And we've been trained from the time we were very small that we are really valued for our work. We're really valued for what it is that we do. And we've been evaluated for that, on that for most of our careers. What happens when we see the doing as being development, or as being coding, or as being writing requirements, is that we miss something absolutely essential and fundamental in terms of how we think about setting ourselves up for success. And that is engaging with our customer, understanding who our customer is, understanding what matters to the customer, understanding how those customers are measured, understanding what their impact is for the organization and what value it is that they're looking to bring. Many times, big strategic projects get handed down from someone very senior in a large organization as this is something that we should do. And the thread of the context gets lost. And the reason why this is valuable for the organization gets lost. And so we end up scrambling and coming back continuously to a group of people, none of whom are truly the customer for the success of the project. They're all there to monitor or govern or ensure that it gets done. And we keep coming back and going, will this work? Will this work? Is this what you were looking for? And so what we're doing is we're playing this game around what really are what we might call the requirements for the project, or the definition of success for the project, which I would consider to be something different, because requirements is a dark black hole that we can head down very easily because we're so used to gathering requirements. If instead we think about that as what is going to satisfy the customer? What impact is this going to have for this department if we're working internally, or for the company if we're working externally? And we really build an understanding of that into the team, and we pause and take the time to do that. That is actually going to save us a lot of work down the road. I work with many different teams who are in the scramble to offer things that they think might be valuable, but nobody really knows what it is, so they just keep adding more stuff on top of it. And if we don't take the time to engage with the customer, to build a definition of success and a definition of done for a project, and by that I don't necessarily mean technical requirements. I mean, how will we know when this is successful? We will know when this is successful if we sell this many thousands of units in the first 6 months of the launch. We will know when this is successful if it impacts 5 other products that we have out in the market. We will know that this is successful when the head of product is able to say, this is a powerful part of our product suite for the following reasons. Many times we miss that context, and in missing that context, we're setting ourselves up for failure because we are playing the game of will this work, will this work? And we can do that perpetually for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and nobody's ever in a position to be able to say, satisfied, this is what it is that we've done. The other thing that is important to recognize is Executive sponsorship, and again, I think this is a little bit of a black hole. If you do not have a dedicated internal customer who is in a position to be able to declare satisfaction on the work that you're doing, you have a bunch of people who are learning with each other and who have different opinions and who are fighting it out in terms of whose opinion is more important. And what that does is it means that your definition of success and your definition of done is something that keeps moving. Now, most complex projects, your definition of success and your definition of done is going to move, but it needs to move in partnership with your team, in partnership with your customer, in partnership with whatever other executive sponsors you have, of which the customer is responsible for making sure that they're on board and they're in sync with you. So as you start thinking about executive sponsorship and you recognize that with active executive sponsors, projects are more successful, 40% more successful, having an internal customer who you can identify as the person who makes the final call on success for your project is absolutely essential for your project success. More than 50% of projects have scope creep. Now, part of what happens with scope creep is there's scope creep associated with shifts and change in the market, and there's scope creep associated with politics and people duking it out. If you have a single customer who can declare satisfaction for your project, and that doesn't mean that there's only one customer, there might be a dozen customers inside the organization, but there is one customer who is ultimately responsible, and they are the chair of the governance committee maybe. They're responsible for making sure that all of the other people on the governance committee are satisfied by the work that you're doing and that you've kept that level of alignment for the duration of the project. If you have that, you are significantly improving your chances of the success of your project. The scope creep is then going to come not as creep, but as strategic decisions that you make because the market shifts, because the competition changes something. And every single one of those is an opportunity to be able to renegotiate and reaffirm what definition of done, what definition of success means, and what the cost of the project is going to be and what the resources are required for the project. So if you can get really good at identifying a customer and building a long-term relationship with them, you're increasing your chances of your project success significantly. The fourth one is what we generically refer to as communication breakdowns. HBR says that communication failures are the silent killer of projects. But we put that under a generic thing called communication breakdowns. I think it's much more powerful for you and much more effective for you to start looking at them in terms of breakdowns in conversations between identifiable customers and performers. A number of other videos I've talked about the loop, I've talked about customers and performers, I've talked about how important that relationship is as this sort of atomic structure that holds your whole project together and that your project success effectively sits on. So as you think about communication breakdowns, think about them in terms of conversations that individuals are having to build trust with each other, to define definition of done, to declare satisfaction, to be able to do the work in a co-inventive way that is really delivering value for the customer. You'll start moving communication breakdowns into something that is much more effective and much more pragmatic and much more resolvable if you start thinking about them in terms of these conversations. I'm doing some work with a client right now where we're looking at missed conversations, conversations that never happened, and how we can begin to reinstate those conversations back into the project and continue to be able to move forward knowing that we are going to be more effective, because those loose ends and those issues and those breakdowns, the silent killer of projects, are not continuing to grow and emerge as the project proceeds. As we work on projects, we get so busy in the process of just delivering that we miss two really important things. One is technical debt, which I've talked about extensively in other videos, but the other one is risk. And as we start thinking about what is the risk of not delivering on time, what is the risk of us delivering something that is incomplete, what is the risk of us delivering something that is not competitive, we need to start looking at risk and having risk as a serious conversation with our internal customer and the other internal customers who are impacted by the value that we are going to deliver. What we notice is, and Gartner has some good data on this, is that they say that early risk tracking reduces failures by 30%. As we start having those conversations with our customers and with our teams, we can begin to look at risk as something that we deal with and something that is a natural part of running a project, and it's something we can manage and mitigate. And we also have introduced the customers to the idea of risk, and they build an understanding of that risk, and they become our allies in helping us manage and mitigate that risk. So there are 5 things to pay attention to as you think about what are some of the most common reasons for project failure. One is that we don't have a clear understanding of satisfaction with a particular customer who can speak to and declare satisfaction when a project is done. Now, I am not naive enough to think that you are going to have only one customer. You are going to have many customers, but I want to encourage you to really organize those customers and get them to organize themselves in a way that they agree that there is one definition of success and one definition of done that they can agree on, and there is one person who might be the chair of that group who can declare that the project is successful. If you don't reach that, even if you don't reach that, driving towards it is going to increase your chances of success significantly. Second one is your executive sponsorship. I would encourage you to really think about it in terms of customers who are executive level, who show up and who are determined that the project is going to be a success and who will co-invent with you and support you rather than simply sponsor you. Scope creep and shifting priorities, again, cannot overemphasize the importance of recognizing the difference between scope creep because of changes in context and scope creep because we have a bunch of customers who can't make up their minds. Communication breakdown both within the team and between us and our customers. If we brush everything underneath the carpet of communication breakdown, we're setting ourselves up for failure again. Understanding that communication is really about taking action and making commitments and putting the loop into practice in terms of having internal customers and performers. What we'll see over time is that we begin to shore up some of the loose and fragmented ends of our project, and everyone on the team understands that they are responsible for effective commitment making, effective coordination, effective management of breakdowns, and effective conversations that need to happen. And the 5th one is ignoring risk and capacity constraints. Bring that conversation front and center. Bring the conversation of tech debt front and center. Make it an integral part of every conversation that you have, particularly with your leadership team, and make sure that they are having those conversations with their teams. As you start working towards some of these difficult aspects of managing successful projects, I really encourage you to have a look at my white paper called Execution by Design. You can find it as a free resource. It's on my website, www.jenniferkenny.com, under free resources. Go in there, have a look at it, let me know what you think of it, and I sincerely hope that it supports you in dealing with some of the very difficult aspects of ensuring that your project is going to be successful. I wish you the best of luck.